Welcome to episode 4, Animations and Cartoons Across Western Media and Japan. If you don't know what Kawaii Kon is one of the biggest anime conventions in Hawaii. It started in 2005 with only about 2,000 attendees at Ala Moana. Now, in 2025, they're celebrating 20 years of operation. This year's lineup involves almost every single My Hero Academia voice actor, HoloLive VTubers, Japanese fashion guests, musicians, and an artist alley where vendors can sell any and all fan merch. This is a 3-day event starting from Friday to Sunday. This year was held from March 14th to March 16th. Each day is filled with different schedules, but most of the people who come are big fans of Japanese culture, anime, and manga.
My name is Darienne Malaluan. I'm currently a UH West Oahu student, and I'm majoring in video game design and development.
Can you describe your experience working at Kawaii Kon? What are some of the highlights or challenges that you faced?
My experience working there, most of the time, I'm sitting at the guest autograph booth, hoping for customers to come by. But overall, when the guests have a panel, it's my job as a guest relation to guide them to where they need to be. I took it upon myself to get out of my comfort zone and apply it as a guest relation. As a guest relation, our job is to basically assist the guests that'll be staying at the convention. So our schedule would basically follow along with the guests' own personal schedule. Majority of the time, I shadowed with the more experienced guest relations. So I wasn't really as nervous up until the third day where I had to work all by myself.
With such a big event, it's also important to hear from others who enjoy Kawaii Kon and participate in some of the activities that they offer.
My name is Heidi. I'm a beauty advisor at Sephora, and I was born and raised here in Hawaii.
How long have you been interested in J culture or Kawaii culture?
For me, I've been interested in J culture ever since, I want to say I started watching anime back in the 6th grade.
For J culture, I would say it started when I joined a couple of these Asian history teachers classes, Dr. Jayson Chun. The way he teaches, especially when he uses materials like certain anime film, I don't know, I think it just helped. It makes me want to be highly invested into wanting to explore more when it comes to the culture itself.
What has anime taught you about Japanese culture?
I would say the culture differences, in, let's say, Japan, the things like the education system, the work culture, and even the social etiquette. In anime films, it's represented to be more rigorous, compared to the US itself.
What are your thoughts on how Japanese culture has been embraced in Western society?
I guess the pros for that would be exposure for other people. They can see J culture in different media forms. For example, right now there's Megan Thee Stallion, who makes a lot of references to anime, and it just exposes her audience to other things, other cultures.
As someone who is from the US, I find it interesting since the growth between anime and manga have come so far here in the US. I remember hearing stories about how just even watching anime or even reading manga or even just drawing your favorite anime characters were looked down upon, especially during my parents' childhood years. Even now, growing up, we see the popularity within anime and manga rising into something where people can now gather and just enjoy themselves together as one big community.
Would you say that anime helped you find your own community of people?
Yes, I would say so. As a kid growing up, I never really had the lucky time making friends, but by the time I started middle school and investing myself into anime, that is when everything opened up to a whole other people that I've never thought would become my friends.
How has attending Kawaii Kon influenced your appreciation for anime and Japanese culture?
Kawaii Kon has influenced my appreciation for Japanese culture and anime through like the different people that attend and getting to see how they each individually enjoy the anime or like a specific aspect, and just getting to see them like express themselves, and I just get to learn like more about the culture.
Just as I said before, seeing like beautiful community, especially at places like Kawaii Kon, you would see these amazing people do these amazing things together, like cosplay, art. I would say it really highlights the creativity that these people have, and I can see that anime and Japanese pop culture like really brings these people together.
What advice would you give to people who want to attend events like this?
Advice that I would give people attending Kawaii Kon would be just to be open to different things, because the first time that I went to Kawaii Kon, or the first few times actually, I really only went to like the artist alley and vendor area, but there are plenty different like rooms that you can explore, and you can attend different events that they have, different panels where you get to listen to other people and sometimes even see performances, or you can even like meet like voice actors.
This will be coming from someone who, once again, despises social interaction. The best advice I could give to people is you just gotta remember and realize that Kawaii Kon is just a welcome gathering where, again, you can meet people who have like the same interests as they do, of course, which is like anime. If you're lucky, I guess, I'm sure they'll be able to have an amazing experience there.
Kawaii Kon offers a shared space to show off one's love for creation, anime, manga, and all things Japan. Can you tell me about the character you cosplayed and why you chose them?
For day one, Friday, I chose to be Dabi. Dabi is a villain from My Hero Academia, and I chose to cosplay him because I really wanted to make an attempt at his makeup. I really liked how unique it looked and how much like you could stand out in the crowd. For Saturday, I dressed up as Makima from Chainsaw Man, and she's also a villain. I wanted to cosplay her also because I wanted to make a prop for her, and usually whenever I decide on who to cosplay, one of the factors is how realistic it would be for me to make that prop. And for me, I thought that it could be pretty easy to make the brain halo that she has from the manga.
What is it about cosplay that makes you want to create something?
Cosplay makes me want to create something just for the idea of being able to make something myself. Just having like my own unique way of doing things. Just because there are plenty ways to make a cosplay, like you can gather different materials and assemble it your own way.
What's your favorite part of cosplay and seeing other cosplays at these kinds of events?
My favorite thing about seeing cosplayers at events like these is just being able to recognize them in a crowd and figuring out like where they're from and who they are, because a lot of the time, like at events like these, you'd see whatever is trending that year. Like this year, there's a lot of Dandadan cosplayers, but for me the most exciting part is always seeing like those niche cosplays, and like they're from like older anime series, and it's just fun being able to recognize them.
How do you think anime and cosplay helps to bridge the gap between Japan and the rest of the world?
I just feel like it connects them because anybody can really get into anime and cosplay. It's not just for one specific target audience, it's kind of for everybody. Anybody can get into it, so long as they do their research beforehand. And people from all around the world can take from J culture and create like fan art and fan pieces and then share it with everybody else.
Do you have any final advice you'd like to give?
My last piece of advice would be to be open to experiencing other things, and just being open.
Anime made one of its first debuts in the 1960s with the introduction of Astro Boy, created by Osamu Tezuka. This is one of the bigger pieces of animation to be brought from Japan that premiered here in the West.
The first anime geared for world export was Tetsuan Atomo. We call it Astro Boy. Now, what made Tetsuan Astro Boy so popular was, it's what a scholar, Iwabuchi Koichi, calls mukokuseki, or nationless. You can take Astro Boy, change the names into English, maybe edit some of the plot, put in dubbing, and you can't tell if it's Japan or America. So mukokuseki, or nationless manga or anime, became popular. You could easily dub it. So in the 60s, you had a whole slew of Japanese anime come out, and you just dubbed it and changed the titles, then, you could sell it worldwide.
From there, it only grew more and more. In the 1970s, there was the Science Ninja Team Gatchaman, which was renamed in the US as Battle of the Planets. In the 1980s, there was Robotech and Gundam. This really set off what is known as the anime boom in the United States. It started in late 1990s and set off until 2008. During this time, anime like Sailor Moon, Cowboy Bebop, and Dragon Ball Z were making headlines. There was even a network called Toonami which aired all of these anime shows.
So you started seeing then in the 70s the spread of this kind of anime. All you had to do is dub it and it could be sold everywhere. But what interesting happened was, as people got used to anime and they started learning more of Japanese, soon the Japaneseness of it became valuable. Now, Sailor Moon actually was aimed at 20-year-old women who grew up with shoujo manga. But then, in America, we think comics are for kids, right? So they showed it in America. But then even kids, they're not stupid. They can tell something's different. It's not your standard manga, anime. Mm-hmm. It's not. And so that's what they ended up watching it. I think in the 90s, Sailor Moon broke huge ground to have an anime series where the main characters, the main heroes are women, heroines. You didn't have anything like that in the United States, worldwide. And so it was just amazing that people saw that, and that, these women were, and yet they weren't just, men in women's bodies. They were women who actually had fears like young girls, right? Dresses like young girls, wanting to eat food all the time, you see that? And yet they could save the world. So that's, to me, the main idea, which is, at first it was, you could just dub it and hide the Japanese identity, but soon, by being different, but yet familiar, help spread it worldwide.
This led to a whole generation of animators and storytellers who see and steal or borrow from the original source material, like Avatar: The Last Airbender. The creators of the show have said that their inspirations come from anime. The fighting style and even the cultures are all borrowed from Southeast Asia. Atla, the show's nickname, is considered a Western anime since it's not produced by Japan or based on any manga upon its release. America has done a lot with their Western animations like Samurai Jack, Teen Titans, and yes, even the Powerpuff Girls. Teen Titans, which premiered in 2003, was at the height of the anime boom. Even the intro to their show featured a Japanese pop duo, Puffy Ami Yumi. The show gained its own popularity, and a lot of animation was borrowed from anime of its time. The creator of the show, Glenn Murakami, took inspiration from Speed Racer and Kimba the White Lion. It is also important to add that all the characters have big round eyes and are full of expression. Western cartoons looked very different before the anime boom. They had Popeye and Looney Tunes. The shows were focused around slapstick comedy without any complex narrative.
In the 1950s, you started having what's called the comics code, because there was so much, America deep down is a very conservative nation. And we think, kids must always be protected. We don't realize that kids have seen all kinds of stuff and that they're smart enough. Don't be affected by one manga. So we made what's called the comics code, which then, regulated what could be shown in comics. So because of that, comics became boring and bland. That's why, it started aiming more towards young boys. That's why you started having, these superhero comics. Japan, because of the experience in the war, really treasured the freedom of speech. So there wasn't a comics code. And also because after the war, so many studios were destroyed, many people, again, before the war, manga, comics were popular, after the war, people actually used comics as a form of entertainment besides movies. The movies were hard to make. See that? So you started seeing in the 50s a thriving manga scene. And they started seeing really in the 60s what's called gekiga. These are comics for adults. Again, adults in a sense is more themes, like some of them are about work. Others involve a lot of killing. There's a lot more social commentary in it. So because of that, you started having a flourishing manga scene. So what does that mean? That means then when the anime is made, you have a lot of material with controversial subjects, adult subjects, and they're not seen as for kids, because that tradition was there already. So therefore, let me give you an example. Like I talked about Sailor Moon earlier. Sailor Moon was aimed at women in the 20s who grew up with shoujo manga. But then when it came to America, because we thought comics are for kids, we had to censor so many things. See that? You have a lot more controversial subjects. Again, hegemonic mimicry. It's close but not yet the same, but yet it's so interesting. So what happens is, young kids, we're not stupid. We can figure out when a manga is complex. We actually enjoy complex stories. And then when I was a kid, I appreciated watching Japanese anime more. Like, for example, Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, you swallow someone's finger, and then this evil Nile lurks inside of you. You don't have to the Mickey Mouse. Right? And then Marvel Comics are they're too convoluted. They just keep switching all the time. But this whole idea, evil is in you. What are you going to do? That's such an interesting concept. Meanwhile, in America, you got Scooby-Doo and all of these things. You don't have anything. It's too lighthearted. So that's, to me, what you said. The entire fact that it could be very complex and even morally gray makes, I think, anime so popular worldwide.
Anime has managed to sweep the market once again, with streaming services paving a way to make anime more accessible. In 2020, services like Crunchyroll and Netflix helped consumers to find a place to watch safely. During COVID, a lot of people were watching anime, causing a rise in sales and demands. With that said, thank you for watching episode 4, and I'll see you in my last video.